Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Art Inside the Craft podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Glazier, and this is episode number 12. Today, the podcast goes international with Banjer, Jujitsu practitioner, and video game developer Colton Crawford. Colton is one quarter of the Canadian-based bluegrass, country, punk, and folk band The Dead South. Their unique mix of music, along with their stage show and expert command of acoustic guitar, upright bass, mandolin, and of course the banjo, really hooked me as a fan. Colton and I discuss how he started playing music, the album of cover songs coming out this year, Jujitsu, and how he ended up getting interested in video game development. Let's listen in now to that interview with Colton Crawford. So, obviously, it's fantastic to have you on the show, and I had the pleasure of catching you guys twice so far. One was a sweltering hot set at Hinterland a couple years ago.
Okay.
And then the other one was in Des Moines just this past month. I got to shoot that for First Fleet Concerts. And you guys always put on a great show, and always looks like you're having a ton of fun, so that was just it's awesome to see you guys live.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. That Des Moines show was a blast. That was a really good one.
It was a little crazy.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and I also just talked to Kyle O'Brien this afternoon, who was playing fiddle for
Chance.
Yeah, and so he said to tell you hi and to ask you about your Crocs.
Awesome, yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, Kyle's amazing. I bought a pair of Crocs on this tour.
Just
because I wanted some comfy. I needed a new pair of sandals and I wanted something comfy, so I bought some Crocs. And the controversy that ensued over the Crocs, man. But it turns out that Lars, the bassist for Chance, there is also a Croc guy. So
I see.
I had one ally on my side there.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, man.
Oh, man. And just oddly enough, too, I was this last week, or within just the last couple of days, I heard your banjo playing on this BBC show called Jerk, and I recognized it right away. It was In Hell, I'll Be in Good Company.
No shit.
Yeah, it was on there. I was like flipping through the channels and I saw this BBC thing, and then that came on and I was like, whoa. So does that kind of blow your mind sometimes how like far your music's traveling?
Yeah, it does, man. It's absolutely bizarre. That new Back for Blood game that just came out, apparently In Hell I'll Be in Good Company is on the in-game jukebox.
Oh, really?
So it's pretty cool, man. I think that's the first video game we've ever been in, and I played the beta when it came out and it was fantastic. So it's pretty cool to be in there in like a zombie shooting survival horror game.
Yeah,
that's right up my alley, so it's cool.
Yeah, it's just so interesting how that's the cool thing I love about music is just how far it travels. And sometimes you don't even have to be in the same language, and it's just it reaches everybody. So that was really cool.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So I kind of want to cover a bunch of really interesting stuff about you, obviously. But I always like to start kind of at the beginning and find out like where you grew up. And was the banjo the first thing that you picked up, or did you start with another instrument?
Yeah. So I was born in Edmonton, Alberta, and I grew up in Prince Albert, Saskatchewan. I started playing the piano when I was really young. My mom was my piano teacher. Myself and my sister had to play, and I always hated it growing up, and I always wanted to play the guitar. And when I was 12, I was finally allowed to start doing guitar lessons. So I started playing acoustic and electric guitar around age 12. And then I picked up the banjo when I was 21, right near the end of university. And I met Nate kind of right around the same time that I had just got a banjo and started plunking around on it. And we started jamming together and writing songs together. And a lot of that early Dead South stuff was kind of like both of us learning how to, like I was learning how to play the banjo and Nate was kind of learning how to write songs. And he'd played guitar for a couple of years already. But so a lot of that Good Company album is just kind of us learning how it all works.
Wow.
So I've been playing, I'm 31 now, so I've been playing for about 10 years now, the banjo.
Crazy. Was there anybody that you were listening to, like when you were, playing guitar, that you were just kind of like, wow, I really want to pick up a banjo, or was it just kind of something that was always there?
I always liked the sound of it. I never really like listened to bluegrass music or anything,
Mm.
but I remember watching, I think it was on like Conan O'Brien or one of those guys. Steve Martin was on, and I've always been a big
Oh
Steve
yeah,
Martin fan.
you bet.
And he was on there playing the banjo and, just shredding it. And what intrigued me about it was playing sounded so fast, but the hands didn't look like they were doing much. Like
Yeah,
there was very little movement in the right hand, and even in the left hand was very like it was calm and smooth. And I think he actually, I think Noam Pikelny actually came out and played with Steve on this show, and I didn't know who he was at the time, but
mm.
um, yeah. Anyways, I was just kind of like I loved it because I've always been a metalhead. I love like shredding metal solos and super fast guitar playing, and it kind of like it had that same sort of like speed and like shredding just for the sake of shredding aspect to it.
Right.
But then the kind of like the nice acoustic folk side. And yeah, I don't know. It was just very, very intriguing. And I remember thinking like, I just want to know what that's all about. And then eventually, yeah, I ended up, this was a couple of years before I got one, but yeah, I ended up getting one and I just fell in love with it. As soon as I got it, I couldn't stop playing it. So
Wow. Yeah, I just told Kyle today that I'm a guitar player also, and I think between bluegrass and probably metal guys, they're like the most intimidating people as far as the music they play, just because the pure talent and the speed and how clean those guys play. It's just those two genres just really, like I would feel very apprehensive to sit down in a circle with guys playing that kind of music.
yeah, I know what you mean, man. It's very like, it's like, yeah, how do you put it? I like, I've said this before, but I think bluegrass is like the original, it's like the original punk music or the original metal. Like they
Yeah.
were just like, they were going hard and fast just for the sake of going hard and fast,
Right.
and there's a little bit of just like, look how hard and fast we can go.
Yeah.
And it's for fun, it's super fun music. And yeah, there's definitely a parallel between like bluegrass and metal. Absolutely there is.
Yeah, and bluegrass guys are kind of like sneakily deceptive. Like you can sit down and next to somebody's grandpa and they'll just tear it up.
Yeah.
You'll be like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah, it's awesome, man.
Wow. So I was just super interested in how did the Dead South actually come about? Like you guys all getting together and kind of going into that style of music.
So yeah, so like I said, I got the banjo right around the time that I met Nate. I remember going over. So I was on the wrestling team in university at the University of Regina, and a couple of my wrestling teammates were roommates with Nate. And I remember going over to their place one time, and Nate was listening to "Trampled by Turtles." He was listening to that song
Sure.
"Wait So Long."
Yeah.
And it was kind of right around the time. Like I remember that one kind of blew up on the internet when that video first came out, and I remember I said to Nate, like, man, I'd love to play in a band like this. And then Nate was like, yeah, me too. And then we kind of just like the next time I came over, I brought my banjo and Nate got out his guitar and we started sitting around and writing. And we wrote like Banjo Odyssey and Every Man Needs a Chew, like right in those kind of those first few hangouts that we had.
Wow.
Fruit and Salad, yeah, Wishing Well, Achilles. These were all like within the first couple of weeks of knowing each other, first few months, we like had written a couple of these songs. So it's kind of cool. And then it was just me and Nate for a while. We were doing like open mics. And then Nate's wrestling roommates were also musicians. So we played a few shows with like drums and electric bass and electric guitar and that kind of thing. And then they all moved away and it was just Nate and I again for a while. And then Danny joined. And then shortly after that, Scott joined. And then, yeah, we started doing the open mic thing again. And decided we wanted to record an EP. That's when we recorded that first EP. And yeah, then the ball just kind of got rolling. We started booking shows, started touring, and just been going ever since.
Wow. Was there anybody else doing that kind of like? I don't even think there's anybody doing your guys' style of music now, let alone back when you started. But was it kind of like what were those first shows kind of like?
Oh, dude, they were. It's I'd like to see some videos from those first shows because I'm sure they're just awful. But it was fun. Like it was super, super exciting. There was at least, there still is like a decent folk music scene in Saskatchewan. I feel like our stuff is kind of hard to categorize, but we were really inspired by Old Crow Medicine Show, Trampled by Turtles, and The Devil Makes Three.
Yeah.
And Mumford and Sons a little bit too, although we went a little more aggressive than Mumford and Sons, but they definitely
Right.
inspired some of the writing and playing for sure. So
Huh.
it was right when those guys were kind of at their peak is when we started the band.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really cool the way you guys all kind of just fell into that like that. It's neat. I always love hearing how
Yeah.
bands start, you know. It's always
Yeah,
so
and we've all
intriguing.
been like we all grew up listening like we obviously we love folk music, but we all grew up on classic rock and metal and punk.
Hmm.
And I think that comes through too in the especially in the live shows. Um, but I think it comes through in the songwriting too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You guys have some really, really cool songs that, yeah, like you say, you can't stick it in a certain genre because it's just kind of all over the place, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it sounds like there's another EP coming out, Easy Listening for Jerks. That's coming out real soon, isn't it?
I think in March.
March.
So it's
Okay.
still a little ways away. But
Oh,
yeah.
okay. And what I guess what or how do you guys decide to put stuff out? Like, so this is just a 6-song EP. Do you have like a full album in the works, or did you guys just kind of think, well, let's put something out, just to get something new out there and kind of get people,
Yeah,
fired back up?
so the easy listening for jerks is it's a two-parter. So we have part one and part two.
Ah,
I
okay.
think the original plan was to release one earlier and then the other one, but I think now we're just going to release them together.
Hmm.
Um, so it's all covers. Easy listening for jerks. We're doing the first one. Part one is like traditional folk and bluegrass songs, and then the second one is like punk and rock songs.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
so the kind of how it came about was we work with a company called Peer Music. They're a publishing company, and they're kind of responsible for um, getting like TV placements and ad placements and like getting songs in video games and that kind of a thing.
Sure.
And they wanted us to record a whole bunch of traditional folk and bluegrass songs just to have in their catalog that they could pitch to you know TV shows and whatever.
Right.
And so what we did was we all bought, this was like during COVID, we had all this time. So we all bought some mics and preamps, and we bought Pro Tools, and we recorded part one just isolated from home. So Nate would start with the guitar and vocals and send it to me, and I'd put banjo on it. Then we'd send it to Danny and, go from there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's kind of how it came out. And as we were recording them, we thought like, well, we may as well release these. Like, these are pretty cool recordings. We like how these songs are sounding. So why don't we just like, we'll have these in the Pure Music catalog, but we'll just also release as an EP.
Hmm.
And then we just figured like, what a good time to do a whole bunch of these other covers we've been talking about. Like we've been talking about covering a System of a Down song forever.
Oh yeah.
There's the CKY song we've been playing forever. Like
Uh-huh.
there's some of these. Nate plays. He does a really good rendition of Saturday Night by the Misfits. So it's
Hmm.
just kind of like it just made sense because we had all this downtime from touring and all this recording equipment at home. So we kind of just made it happen. So
Yeah,
I'm pretty
that's awesome.
excited. We've never released like all covers before, and we're pretty kind of, we don't like to play a lot of covers, but we just kind of
Uh-huh.
went all in on this one. So it's going to be interesting to see, but it's pretty fun.
Yeah, that's just another, like you're saying, you guys record all that stuff at home. Like, music is so interesting the way it's evolving, with the way things used to be where they'd set you up with studio time and, you'd have 6 weeks or whatever to knock it out. And now it seems like more and more musicians are really taking kind of their music back and trying to figure out ways to do it themselves and recording at home. And I think that's really cool. I really like it that musicians are able to do that more and more. So,
Yeah, it worked well for COVID. Honestly, I think I prefer going into. We actually did. So I should clarify. We did the first. We did the bluegrass ones from home, and then we went to a studio to do part two. So we
okay.
did all the rock ones at a studio in Kelowna.
Uh-huh.
It's awesome to be able, like, what I really like now about us having Pro Tools and decent recording stuff at home is like we can send things to each other. Like if we have ideas, it's really easy to get like a high quality recording sent to someone else that they can then kind of noodle around on.
Sure.
But we're still very, very like green in terms of all of the technical know-how that goes into recording.
Uh,
And it's a lot easier to just go to a studio, and it's
Sure.
more fun too because then there's all four of us are there together. We're
Yeah.
hanging out, drinking some beers and whatnot. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
you're having a good conversation between each other. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's cool. So are you guys aren't done with the tour yet for this year though, are you? You're still going?
We're still going. Yeah, we're at home right now. We leave in about a week for Europe. We do a 3 week European run. We come home for a couple of weeks, and then we do west coast of the U.S. in December,
Hmm.
and then it's pretty busy. We're kind of like on tour for a couple of weeks and home for a couple of weeks until the end of August, and then we have a little bit of a break.
Ah,
So we
gotcha.
have all these we have all these rescheduled COVID dates that we have to make up. So
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna tell you, I actually just signed up to photograph your show that you guys are doing at the Ingler in Iowa City. Um,
Oh, nice.
so yeah, so maybe we can meet up then or something.
Yeah, that'd be great. Is that in January?
Yep, that's in January, like the
Awesome.
19th. Yeah,
Okay, awesome. Yeah, let's meet
there's
up for sure.
there's
That
two
sounds great.
shows. The second one's on my daughter's birthday, so I can't I can't go
Yeah,
the 21st, but the 19th I'll
yeah,
be
that's
there for
fair.
sure. Cool. Okay, so then I also wanted to ask about the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
That's also something interesting, very cool. I studied martial arts for a number of years, and so it always kind of I think is amazing when musicians mix those things together with, martial arts. So I saw you post about rolling with the guys like before the show. How long have you been doing that, and are you teaching all the other guys, or do they?
So yeah, I've been doing jujitsu since I started. I want to say it was like 2009 or maybe 2010. There was a big like 5 year gap in there when we started the band and started touring, and that kind of just took over everything for a while. But I've been
Hmm.
back at it for about 6 or so years now. So I've been doing it for a long time. I did Taekwondo as a kid from age 10 to like 20, basically until I started doing jujitsu, and then I fell in love with jujitsu.
Cool.
Um, and yeah, I absolutely love it, man. And yeah, the other guys, Nate's come to one or two classes, I think. I've rolled around with Scotty a couple times. The stuff we were doing on the road there was just kind of like we just bought some mats and we were just wrestling
Oh,
around for fun. So they don't really train, at least not yet, and I haven't really taught them much either. It's more just like us, yeah, rolling around for fun.
yeah, yeah, that's really cool. Um, have you done any tournaments or matches or anything like that, or is it mostly just the classroom studies?
I've done a couple. I haven't in a long time just because of touring, and then
Right.
obviously there were no tournaments over COVID or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I competed a little bit at blue belt. I don't think I competed at all at purple. And I got my brown belt in November, and I haven't competed at brown either. So it's been quite a while since I've competed, but I'd love to compete again. There's a guy putting on a local event here in town that I think I'm going to do at the end of November.
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah, it'll be super fun.
Yeah, I spent a number of years in Taekwondo myself and did a bunch of tournaments all
Nice.
over the place. It's kind of, I don't think you necessarily have to do them, but it definitely, I guess, kind of hones your technique or shows you a little more
For
about
sure, man.
what works and what doesn't work when somebody else is really trying to
Absolutely.
stop you. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
that's cool. And then the only other thing I wanted to ask about also was the game development. What's going on with that?
So yeah, over COVID, I started learning a little bit of computer programming and making this video game, which I'm like, I thought was pretty close to being done. And then I sent it to an actual professional game developer, like a local guy here, for some feedback. And he actually just got back to me with a lot of really good things that need to be changed and a lot of bug fixes and that kind of thing.
Mm,
But yeah, it's been like I've always been a huge video game fan. They're like my favorite medium for sure because they just combine all the things that I like music and storytelling and visual art and then just like gameplay mechanics is an art in itself.
sure.
Um, so yeah, I had all this time and needed something creative to do, and yeah, it was really really great, and I love doing it, but it's been kind of on hold in the last little bit. I started streaming a couple of months ago.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and that's really taken off. Like to a degree that I did not expect.
Really?
So that's kind of been taking up all of what was formerly my game dev time is now my streaming time. So
Wow.
yeah, the game dev is a little bit in the back seat right now, but I definitely still plan on releasing this little game I made. It's just a little like 2D puzzle game. You walk around it's kind of like a Zelda dungeon. You walk around this little dungeon and solve puzzles, and
Oh, cool.
that's kind of it.
Wow.
Yeah, so eventually I'll release that, but yeah.
Yeah, that's
It's super fun.
Super interesting. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today, like I said, and
yeah, of course, man. I appreciate you.
I greatly appreciate Colton coming on the podcast and spending some time talking about the variety of creative ways he's able to express his passions. I find the many avenues of creativity as interesting as the artists themselves, and wish nothing but the best to Colton and the rest of the Dead South. Check their website or social media pages to see where they will be and when their new music is available. Thank you to my sponsors, Pure Mountain Coffee and Black Cat Bone Productions. You can track down photos of both Dead South shows I photographed on Instagram at Black Cat Bone Productions, and a link will be available in the podcast description as well. Until next time, I'll catch you all down the road.